Hey there, fellow Evanstonians. Jeff Cohen here, the economist running in our Illinois 9th Congressional race. The Democratic Party of Evanston has asked all of us candidates some questions, and I'll address those in a minute. But first, I think it's really important you get to know who I am. I've lived in Evanston for over 25 years. My wife, Kim, and I raised 3 proud ETHS graduates. We've owned small businesses here, and you may have seen me on a stage around town since my other gig is playing in a rock band. Or maybe you've heard my discussions in front of City Council about pension funding or the new stadium, not for or against it, but rather to hold the city accountable on the economics. It's simple why I got into this race. Our democratic institutions are clearly under attack, no doubt about that. But also family budgets are broken, and I have the experience to do something about it. For that reason, I don't believe it's just going to be fine because a Democrat is likely to win the general election in November 2026. The self-centered career politicians and youthful, inexperienced attention seekers in this race are not going to make the right difference. Why? Because for other candidates, affordability is a talking point, as if saying the word will somehow magically make it happen. Meanwhile, I've been working on economics and testifying about it for 30 years on tax, healthcare, finance, technology, transportation. I've worked with the federal government and I've also challenged it. I know what succeeds in Washington and what won't. I've employed hundreds of people in consulting, and I've been an employee myself living from paycheck to paycheck without solid healthcare. I was a reporter, an author, a house painter, a musician, a substitute teacher. I think you're likely to hear in this election that I've worked for some big corporations. Sure, but I've also worked against them, and I know what makes them tick. There's no corporate PAC money in my campaign. Now, in terms of the candidate questions, I want to focus on a couple of them because that's how I think I'm most different. So don't get me wrong, not for a minute do I think the other questions are less important. No, but this group of Democrats is not in any real disagreement on the other stuff. The questions about threats to our democratic institutions, to our neighborhoods, to our very bodies. For that matter, I don't think that performing in front of the camera down in Broadview somehow makes someone a stronger advocate for the freedoms we all hold so dearly. We all know that immigrants are the very lifeblood of our nation, and we need to unmask and hold accountable rogue, lawless thugs and the low-life characters who enable them. So, the questions. What single issue or legislation would be your primary focus as a new member of Congress? And the Democratic Party lost 6 million votes in the presidential election between 2020 and 2024. How do you propose getting those Dems back and engaging in voting for the Democratic nominee in 28? So my answers. The family economy is my top priority, and the only way to get Democrats back and engaged in 2028 is to deliver on that. Not false hope, not happy talk, not wishful thinking, and not making endless promises that can't be kept. Unlike every other candidate in this race, I've put up an affordability agenda. It's right there on my website. It contains specific proposals to do something concrete about the gap between income and groceries, income and medical care, income and housing. So, a bill for small businesses to be able to profit share with their employees, a bill for seniors to be able to save for medical expenses without paying taxes. I want federal HUD dollars conditioned on affordable housing, not cheap housing. So, my goal is to pry loose both the left and the right from bad policies. And I can't wait until lobbyists realize that I'm their worst nightmare, someone who's in office for service, not salary, someone who doesn't think being a politician should be a career. So I think if Democrats can deliver on the economy with policy in D.C. and constituent services here, which, frankly, really need to be ramped up given all the chaotic economic nonsense from Trump, if we can make life more affordable, then we will have a good way to win in 2028. There is no way to fix the economy if you don't understand it. And when a 79-year-old tells me they're working at a call center as a retirement plan, or a teacher tells me they're picking up an Uber shift to make ends meet, we have a very seriously broken economy. So I'm asking you to send this economist to fix it, and I hope I can meet as many of you in person as possible. Thank you.